Welcome to the Train Like a King podcast, your go-to source for all things paddling. Get inspired to hit the water with expert insights and motivation. Visit Train Like a King for training plans, paddles, merchandise, and more. Don't miss out. Follow and subscribe to stay tuned for every episode. Hey guys, welcome back to another Train Like a King podcast episode. It's been a little minute since my last episode, and there's no real structure to this one. However, it is officially 16 weeks away, or 17 weeks, depending how you measure it, from the World Sprints in Hilo this year. So 16 weeks to go. So most of you will know that I do have training plans available for individuals or for teams, preparing for the World Sprints or a long distance event. But personally, I have started my 16-week training plan. I actually started mine last week, but you can also start it this week, depending on how much of a taper you want there. I got a head start last week with the 16-week training plan, and yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome to be on a plan again, and awesome to have some structure towards the Worlds. But in this podcast, I want to focus on a few, tips surrounding, preparation for an event, and some handy tips that I use to help improve your overall training and simplify things to help you just achieve success. Because simple changes, simple habits can lead to big results. So I'm not sure what the name of this podcast will be, but we'll decide based on where we get to and what points we cover. So the first tip that I want to start with is consistency over intensity. Now, what I mean by this is that you have to learn to be consistent. I read a book, Atomic Habits, a while back, and there's a quote in there that says, you don't fall to the, I can't remember what it was, but you don't fall to the level of your, I can't even remember the quote, but anyway, sometimes the quote finishes, you fall to the level of your systems. Now, the systems are basically the small habits that you have in place. Yes, it's okay to get, the intense paddles in or the long paddles in, but if you're not doing it consistently enough over the span of a week, month or months, then those sessions may not accumulate, and won't help to build that consistency over time. So, for example, if your plan is to paddle 6 days a week, that's your eventual goal, is to paddle 6 days a week, at least 60 to 90 minutes per session, whatever. Try and get at least the 6 sessions during the week. Try to attempt those, even if you may not be able to fit the full session. Just get something done each day, whether it's 20 to 30 minutes on the erg in the morning. That's better than nothing. 20 to 30 minutes on the water, better than nothing. Rather than going 2 days without paddling or training and then getting a big one on Wednesday, another 2 days off and then big one. Try and build that consistency, because those commitments to those smaller training sessions, you will build that consistency over time. You will train your brain to just get out there and start. And then once that habit is built of starting, then you can start to build on the duration of those sessions, for example. So that's what I would say around consistency is key. Now, how I tie that to my training plans, I always say try and choose a training plan that's best for you based on how much your current level and how much training you can do during the week. But don't be afraid to choose a program that will challenge you a little bit. And I always say it's okay to change and adjust the sessions based on how you're feeling that day. but at least try and get out there and do it. Now, what I mean by that is say, hey, you have a scheduled intense workout for that day, an interval session, for example, but you may not be feeling amazing. You may not be feeling like you can get a quality interval session. So you feel free to replace that harder session with an easier session. So rather than actually just skipping the workout altogether, you're still getting out there and getting on the water and doing something. And that over time, like I said, is going to build the consistency necessary for your performance. Put the work in now, and develop those habits. So consistency over intensity. And part of that, what I just talked about, is that the consistency is the key, but your ability to listen to the body and adjust your training sessions accordingly is also important. Another good example that comes to mind is gym training. Now, if you haven't done the gym in a long time, let's say it's been a few months or even a year before or since you've done some type of strength and conditioning training in the gym, for example, consistency over intensity is really important here. Now, yes, you may have some previous training experience in the gym. However, if you jump straight back into a gym session and straight away grab the weights that you used to do, a year ago or months ago, and think, okay, that's what I used to do, so I'm going to start here and go hard and whatever. Be very careful doing this, because if you aim for the highest intensity possible in that session, and whether it's lifting heavy weights or lots of reps or 5 sets rather than 3, be very careful, because yes, you may be able to do it, but it may really, if you don't ease your way into it, you could have really significant fatigue or DOMS, delayed onset of muscle soreness, after a session like that. So what I recommend, if you are introducing the gym again, start really light. So the last 2 weeks I've started gym again, and the thing that's allowed me to recover well from those sessions is pretty much I haven't been putting any weight on the bar. I haven't been putting any weight on the barbell, doing my squats and deadlifts and rows and anatomical adaptation session is what I've been focusing on lately. And I haven't been worrying about load at all yet. And I tell you what, I still feel it the day after, but not to the point where it's going to really impact my on-water sessions or just over fatigue you too quickly. So don't be afraid to start on zero. And this is the cool thing about strength and conditioning. The older you get, not the older you get, but sometimes there is that thought, oh, nah, I better not. Weight training is not going to help me at my paddling. And the reason why you think that way is often because you associate weight training with heavy lifting, but it's not all about heavy lifting, especially when when you're early in a training phase. Don't worry about trying to lift the heaviest weight that you can. It's just about the movements and getting the movements and the muscle synchronicity, the neural developments and the patterns down. And then obviously there's going to be some strength phase in there where there's a phase where you can lift a bit heavier, but that's after 3 to 4 weeks or so at least of foundation anatomical adaptation training. And then later in the strength and conditioning phases, it's power, which again is light. It's lightweight, move that speed, and it's not done to volitional fatigue. It's done at speed and powerful movements. So look, if you're incorporating gym training and you're afraid of gym training, just keep it light as possible. Do some even body weight stuff is awesome, but it's still better than nothing. If you can incorporate a bit of strength and conditioning in your training, then you're going to be better overall. Next tip here is, well, we already kind of covered this. Start small and build momentum. So we did that. So you're gradually building into it, whether that is the on-water volume or the gym volume. Incorporate active recovery. So, making sure that you're taking all the appropriate measures to recover from your training, but then also warming up is important too. So whether you're preparing for like a harder interval session on the water, you want to kind of allow good warm up there, stretching, mobility, and then the gym for sure. You want to incorporate some stretching, mobility, and maybe some foam roller, trigger pointing stuff before your workout, so that everything's moving well and you're feeling good before you put some load onto your bar and stuff like that. So and then even on your days off, if it's an important competition you're training for, if you can get things like massages or, I don't know, active recovery in the pool, saunas, that type of stuff is good. Another tip, prioritize quality over quantity. So when you are training for a specific event, when you do go out and train, don't just train for the hell of it. Always keep that end goal in mind, the race. What type of race is it? What type of stroke am I looking to focus on? Because, quality can come in many forms. Quality can come in, yes, I may have sacrificed a little bit of intensity for technique, good technique, maintaining good form. It could be, sacrificing a bit of intensity in order to hit every interval at a good, consistent pace, rather than the first few intervals being super good and then the next one suffering and your form falls apart. This is quality, just being really, really critical on things like technique, your race strategy. You're always thinking about your race strategy, your selection of training ground, whether you're training on the flat or the ocean. These things are important. Quality over just pure quantity. So that's where a good plan comes into place. Good plan and a good balance of pushing the volume, but also have some quality sessions in there that you can really work your race specific stuff. Establish a routine. Next tip, establishing a routine is really important. So yes, a plan helps, but establishing a routine is really important. And so knowing what times of the day that you can train, whether you're a morning training person or an afternoon training person or both, this probably, heavily relies on your work schedule, your club training schedule, and just life schedule, family schedule. Now, try and identify the areas that you can fit those sessions in without sacrificing the others too much, but there's always going to be a form of sacrifice. But for example, for me, on a 12-hour workday, my sacrifice is waking up 4 a.m. in the morning and getting a quick session in on the erg, and then so I get about 30 minutes there to cover 5Ks on the erg, and then I do the remaining of my session after work, after 6 o'clock. And especially in the wintertime, that works well for me on a work day, because I don't want to spend too much time in the dark in the afternoon. So I get another 5 to 10 Ks depending on that day's training in the afternoon on the erg. On non-work days, it's a little bit easier to fit the sessions in, but you still want to kind of keep some kind of structure, so that you can get majority of your planned training in. Other tips that would improve just general training, like here is good tips for you. Learn how to train on your own. Learn how to train on your own, obviously in a safe environment. Don't just train on your own out in the ocean and paddle crazy downwinds on your own. No, find a safe place that you can paddle and get extra sessions in on your own. So for me, that's the river. Still take all your safety equipment, life jackets and stuff like that when you are training on your own, but don't just rely on the club trainings if you're wanting to get better, if you're wanting to significantly improve your performance, because unless you shalva trainings you get the 6 days a week plus, then I imagine most club teams aren't getting together more than 3 to 4 times a week. If you are, good on you, that's just amazing. But even then, even if you are 3 or 4 of those sessions, still you can afford to get out for another 2 to 3 sessions on your own, and that will take your performance to another level. So other things that come off that really help me, and one of them is actually owning your own canoe, and doesn't even have to be an expensive one. Like, get the cheapest, a reliable one, strong, that isn't going to break and thing, but get a cheap one. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Like, oh, they've got the carbon and all this. Nah, just get a heavy training canoe that you can use consistently and not be sad if it gets hit or dinged, because you're going to be, if you're using it a lot, it's going to take some dings. If you're taking it on the river, it's going to hit some trees. If you're training with others, it's going to hit others. It's just going to be out in the elements continuously. So it's always good to have one of those. Now, if you don't have any canoe at all yet, and you are looking to get one, get that one first. Get that one first, especially if if you're still building yourself up the ranks, because there's a difference. There's a difference between a heavy and a light one. But the top guys can still have really good results on a non-carbon canoe. There's been a lot of times where I've chosen just to take my training canoe out and race on that instead, and still had some success. So it's still a good viable choice for your canoe if you're still, and then if you pay $1,000 for a canoe then versus 9,000, man, that's an awesome opportunity. I will say this: when I was first coming up the ranks and I won, before I won my first Premier Men's Championship, I was training on a surf rigger, made by Chris Carlson, Moana Nui. And, those things, they're solid. There's a few of those that have still lasted this long, 20 years plus, still solid. And, now they wouldn't compete against the canoes we have now, but they make mean training canoes because they're a bit heavier. They're good for learning to paddle like a V1, rudderless. However, the one that I had holes all the way through it, and I was training on the Waikato River, K's on the Waikato River, but halfway through my session, I always had to stop and empty it out because of the holes and the water that was getting in the hull, just to put it in perspective. And I use that to get to my Premier Men's winning level before I got sponsorship from Whaiva'a and so forth. So that's the best way to do it. Buy the cheap canoe. The next thing that you need, if you don't have, hopefully you have the next thing is to get a car. If you're a young uni student like I was with no car at the time, I was biking down from, I didn't have a car, but I had a bike, and I'd bike from uni down to the Waikato River, do my paddle on my surf rigger with the holes in the canoe, jump back on my bike and bike back. It was about 5 Ks or so of a bike. And that's how I got my training in. But eventually I bought my first car. It was a Toyota Carib. It was an awesome little thing. And got some roof racks. Now, those are the two key things. Having, an old dungaree canoe, and then maybe an old dungaree car with roof racks. And basically my canoe never came off the roof. If you have those two things are the key to the success of a paddler. Unless you've got that support from a parent taking you to trainings every day type thing. But this is the advice for those who are at university or looking to move to university. Find yourself if you don't have a car or canoe, find a club to join and that you can use a W1, get consistent training in, or eventually look to, get a cheap car, cheap canoe that you can get yourself to trainings outside of your club trainings, and that will significantly improve your performances. That's why I love having a training canoe, because it just stays on my roof majority of the time. I take it to work so that straight after work I can jump on the water, and I don't have to worry too much about it sitting in the sun and getting damaged, because it's not the most expensive canoe out there. But yeah, that's a couple of tips there. Optimize nutrition and hydration. So that's like if you are 16 weeks away from an important event, maybe you don't have to stricken up things right from the get-go, but each month leading into the big event, you might want to like make a rule for yourself. Like, okay, this month I'm going to cut out fizzy drinks. Write yourself a little contract and sign it. I don't know. The next month you might, this month I'm going to cut out refined carbs, like your really sugary cereals and stuff. And I don't know, just little challenges like that might help to improve that dietary side of things, and thus body composition. Create a supportive environment. So that kind of goes hand in hand with the club thing. Being part of a club obviously helps a lot of people to get extra sessions in. A lot of people are motivated by others to train. So yeah, getting yourself involved with a club. Maybe you have a paddling group outside of the club, like that you get together and do V1s with. That's an awesome opportunity, especially if you're doing that big, longer downwind stuff. And yeah, just always having that goal in mind and talking to others about that goal, like your family and your friends, so that they can be supportive of your goals. I think it's important. Track your progress. Training logs. Write all of your training down. If you have your training plan, write down what you did. It may not be clear cut all the time, but at least you know what is working. And at the end of that campaign or that training plan or whatever, you can look back and see what you did. Even as far as writing down how you feel every day, where's the moments that you got sick or you didn't perform too well in a session or a race. Write those things down so that you can look back and was it my diet? Was it the training? Was I not sleeping enough? These types of things. So write your training down. That's important. And yeah, overall, those are pretty much all my tips for today. Again, like I said, today, Monday, was like pretty much today's the official best day to start a 16-week plan towards the Worlds in Hilo. I had a few people reach out. Sorry if I haven't got back to you straight away. Just been a busy time with coaching and, selecting our own campaign here in New Zealand, and all sorts of other stuff too. Still trying to get all the training in as well. So, yeah, if you're keen to get on a sprints training plan towards Hilo, jump on now, and basically you'll be on the same training plan as me and a few of my close paddling group and Train Like a King paddlers, so community. So jump on there, but also check out all the other programs, the long distance stuff, and yeah, check out all the merchandise that we have, and the paddles. The new paddles are awesome. Ruo Moko, the Ariki series, they're looking pretty cool. So yeah, thanks guys for listening again and tuning in, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.